welcome to another episode of Comics and Us. I'm TJ.
And I'm Chris.
And I'm Lumpy.
And this is the review show that reviews comic origins. Kind of. Alright. What?
This one's an origin. One's an origin. Like, I wasn't even going to start with you.
This is an origin.
I was waiting for it.
Yes.
This one
I think it might be the first one. I think it might be the actual first origin we ever did.
Alright. Anyway. So, today, origin that we're covering is Swamp Thing. He first appeared in House of Secrets number 92, which was released July 1971. The story we are covering today was written by Len Wein? I don't know how to say that last name. It was penciled and inked by Bernie Wrightson. It was lettered by Ben Oda and edited by Joe Orlando. The executive editor was Carmine Infantino, and the cover artists for this issue was Bernie Wrightson and Jack Adler. Trying to decide if I want to go into something before or after the comic. Yeah, let's go into the comic. Alright, so who wants to do the cover?
There's no escape from the House of Secrets. DC House of Secrets up in the left-hand corner, like it looks like a purple Batman symbol.
It almost does look like a Batman symbol.
There's a lady, a very pretty lady, drawn extremely well. Like, I mean, almost lifelike for the time. It's incredible. She's brushing her hair. She's in a very bright light, but she's clearly in a dark room. Maybe she's at like a desk with a light on her. And behind her is the darkness and an open window. And the Swamp Thing coming through the window with a like purple background. He's green. He almost looks like the Lorax.
A little bit. It looks like a big mustache right there. Yeah, you're right.
Yes, it does. I was seriously impressed by the drawing on this. She's lifelike.
Just seeing this cover, I thought this is a comic book I would read. I definitely would read this comic book. I used to read the Creepies, and there was another one I used to read, and this looked just like that. I never heard of the House of Secrets before.
I'd never heard of it. This is my first time, and just the drawing on the front. I'm honestly, whoever drew it did a really good job.
Oh, it looks amazing. It looks like a horror comic book, and I was really impressed by it.
But her facial features, like it almost looks like someone took a picture.
The cover artist was Bernie Wrightson and Jack Adler.
It's good. It's very good.
It actually reminded me, if you remember, Lump, the Twilight Zone covers were.
Yes, it does.
Like one of those.
I don't know, I got left out of Twilight Zone.
Because you decided that you weren't doing an episode that week.
So you picked one I wanted to read?
Anyway.
That's not fun.
Anyway, the only other thing I want to mention about this cover is that this comic is approved by the Comics Code Authority.
It is. Huh.
It is.
We haven't talked about the Comics Code Authority because we haven't hit it in Batman yet. Yeah. So I'm not going to mention it here, bring it up, but I just wanted to note it.
Okay.
So, we're going to just dive right into this. There is no splash page for this issue because it's preluded by the host of the comics. This is an anthology horror comic book, so they normally have hosts that introduce the stories. And House of Secrets host is Cain and Abel. You know, the biblical Cain and Abel.
Okay, cool. So, I didn't understand what was going on, actually. I read the page, the introduction page, and then it went right into the comic, and I didn't know if the full comic was going to be all Swamp Thing. I had no idea what was going on.
No, it's an anthology comic, and these guys are just introducing this. If you look at if one of you just want to explain what's happening on this page right here with Cain and Abel.
Yeah, well, you just told us it was Cain and Abel. I didn't know it was. Well, Cain, I guess, is the one that looks like the devil. He's got
yeah, he's on the right.
Yeah, he's on the right. He's got the devil's goatee, and his hair's brushed into horns, almost like Wolverine a little bit. And he's got a coat on, but he's got a DC button on the coat, on the collar. And then I guess the other guy's Abel. He's in a suit. He's got smaller hair horns, and they're in the graveyard with flashlights and a bag. I have no idea what's going on there.
They're going snipe hunting.
Ah, that's right. I forgot. I read that whole paragraph. They're going snipe hunting.
Does anyone know what snipe hunting is?
I do. It's not.
Don't.
You don't? I'm surprised you don't,
No.
Because my father-in-law down in the campgrounds used to take my youngest nephew snipe hunting. You take kids out in the woods and tell them they're snipe hunting. There's no snipes, and when their backs turn, you throw rocks into the woods and scare the crap out of them. What happened actually was my youngest nephew on my wife's side got so scared that he ran away and was pounding on people's doors trying to get into their trailers on the campground.
Oh my god! I never heard that before.
Yeah, it's like a trick they played, and it was started in like the 1800s.
Huh. Yeah, take little kids.
There's actually, what's funny though, there's actually birds that are called snipes.
Oh, is that really?
Yeah, it's like, I don't think it's like a particular bird, but like a group of birds are called a snipe. So it's funny.
Well, he's taking him snipe hunting in the graveyard, so that's even worse.
Well, the thing about Cain and Abel is Cain always murders Abel in some way. But
okay.
Yeah. So, all right. So that's technically, or I guess that'd be our splash page for this issue. Let's dive into the comic proper. So we open up with our titular character, the Swamp Thing, wandering through the swamp. He's got a bit of a Spawn thing going here. I'm not gonna talk about.
The mopey characters seem to do this all the time with this monologuing because they're mopey like Spawn is in those great comics that he didn't like.
This is only one comic, and it's needed for the story to understand what was happening.
Yeah, but he's very lonely in all the comics. Doesn't he do this all the time?
Well, that's the thing I was going to get into. So this Swamp Thing is Alex Olsen.
Okay.
This is the only issue he shows up in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when they go into and gave Swamp Thing his own series, they created a new Swamp Thing called Alex Holland.
So this is not the Swamp Thing's origin story then. It's the other Swamp Thing's origin story.
But in the Alex Holland story, he does make appearances because what happens is there's different parliaments for plants. Called the green and the red, which is animals and stuff like that. And in the green, there's a parliament of trees, like an elder council of former Swamp Things, and he is the previous one from Alec Holland. So this is the first instance of a Swamp Thing origin in comics, essentially.
Okay, I'll give it to you.
You actually kind of just ruined this for me.
That's okay. This is a standalone story anyway. If you couldn't tell.
I'm mad about it.
Anyway, he's trudging through the swamp and he's heading towards a house. Has either of you seen the Swamp Thing movie?
No.
I have. It's been years though.
Okay. Because that's Alec Holland, too.
Okay.
Not this guy.
Not this guy, no. Anyway, he's heading towards the house. I guess it's like a manor. And there's lights on and we go in and we're introduced to two people. I don't know their names off the top of my head. Linda
Olsen Ridge.
And the other guy. Her husband.
Alex.
No, the other guy.
Damien,
yeah. So Damien is married to Linda, and she's sitting on the couch, and he's trying to talk to her, but she's not hearing it, because she's remembering her old husband, Alex. I don't know if they actually got married, or they were just engaged, because you guys made me wait 3 months to actually cover this, but she's remembering Alex, and they were happy. Damien was their best friend, but Damien's like some kind of scientist or something. So he had an experiment, but he exploded and died, and Damien went and let Linda go and chase in after him because it was, there was nothing left, essentially.
Right.
And then we cut back to present day, and he's like, this is where he said, you haven't heard a word I said, and then we cut over to Swamp Thing still moping in the swamp, approaching the house. And he's like talking to Linda, and then he reminisces about what really happened in the past, because he was Alex's partner, and he was in love with Linda, Damien, but he was Alex's partner as a scientist. So he sabotaged the experiment, which caused it to explode. But he had survived the explosion, but Damien dragged him out into the swamp and threw him into the swamp, where he died and became Swamp Thing.
And not only were they partners, though, they were best friends.
Yes.
Well, I mean, he wasn't a real good friend, as you can find.
No, he wasn't. But he was in love with his best friend's wife.
Yes. So, cut back to the president after the reminiscing, and she's like playing, like distant with him, and he comes to the realization that she doesn't like she's requiring out my touch, which means she's putting them together, so she's got to die. She can't figure I come before her, despite how much I love her, and if she's going to figure out that I killed her ex-husband, she's got to die. So he grabs a needle, and he's about to stab her, but then the Swamp Thing breaks through the window and attacks him, and he starts choking him, and I don't know. I guess he killed him.
He kills him.
Because it just shows him.
He says he feels him die.
Holding him.
No, he says he chokes the life out of him. He holds
he says it
basically
takes,
until he's dead.
What does he say? Like several quick minutes or something like that it takes before
several
his
short
life is
minutes
gone.
Damian Ridge struggles for his unworthy life.
Right. So he kills him, but upon seeing this, Linda freaks out because, look, a monster just killed her husband.
Of course, that makes sense.
Yep, and she screams, and Swamp Thing mopes away and goes back into the swamp. The end.
Wow, he blasted through that.
There's nothing to it.
No, but it's drawn really well, and I actually did like this story.
Well, I really liked it a lot, and I was actually excited to read on more into this comic until TJ ruined it and told me it's a one-off, and that sucks.
Well, here's the thing. It is a one-off, but Alec Conlon's Swamp Thing is just as good.
Yeah, but how does he become Swamp Thing? Is it the same story? Same kind of story? I can't remember.
I actually don't remember off the top of my head. Like, I remember the movies. I remember the movie's origins, which was similar to this origin, but that was Alec Holland. But I think his was a little different. It still comes down to the same thing. I think like him and Alec and his wife were scientists, and then bad guys decided to do something. And
got it.
And and they kill him off. It's kind of similar to this,
right?
But I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, well, I need to know more about how this Swamp Thing lives out the rest of his life.
He just goes into the swamp.
And he just sits there?
Yeah, he smokes weed.
Does his wife ever find out what happened to him?
Hold on. You say that, and I say that, but I actually don't know. I know when Swamp Thing gets its own series, it's Alec Holland. It might continue on a little bit in House of Secrets.
He may come back in House of Secrets.
Yeah, so I don't... Hold on. Say something so I can find out.
I'm looking. I'm devastated.
We're all looking
now because this was this was literally a great story, and I was going to tell you about how good it was, and I want to read more, and then you're like, oh no, this is the end of him, and I'm like...
It was a quick story, but I really enjoyed it. I did really enjoy the story.
So, lost and alone, the Swamp Thing abandoned his past existence, preferring to live a solitude in the swamplands that would become his home. He befriended a group of Cajuns that helped him understand the Cajuns referred to the Swamp Thing as La Bongumbo. So it looks like it does continue a little bit, but I don't know what issues they're in.
Fine. I'll look it up later.
So around the year 1937, Alex Olson, Swamp Thing, had finally grown tired of humanity and its grow and strive. He then was ready to retire and gradually lose himself and shared his mind with the Parliament of the Trees, where he would later encounter Alec Holland. Huh. You know, it might not continue in House of Secrets, but it might be told in the Swamp Thing story itself.
Right, it might be woven into the other story or something. As part of
the lore.
Okay.
I've read a few of the newer Swamp Things, and I really like them, too. He crosses over with Batman and stuff.
Yeah, Swamp Thing is actually a pretty good story. They're pretty good stories. They're always like this, though. They're kind of dark and...
Yeah, that's what I like about them, I think.
But... hold on. Yeah, that's all I got. Yeah, anything else to say?
Nope.
No. I really don't. There's not really much else to say.
No, and it's not like it felt like you blasted through that story, but that was really the story. Read it because it's way more interesting. But there's not really much to talk about because it's just a backstory, and then he comes in and stops him from killing his ex-wife. Yeah,
it's really hard to cover just a generally good story,
right?
With really no flaws to it.
Yeah, we had nothing to bitch about.
So, yeah, that was Swamp Thing. It was good.
Yeah, I liked it. Definitely liked it. So
Lumpy's still trying to decide whether he still likes it or not.
I really liked it, but I'm like now I need to know more, and
you don't know where to
give me nothing.
Yeah. So
all right.
So you asked what Swamp Thing did when he walked out into the woods. He went out there and smoked weed. You know what that's called? He calls it a marshmallow because he's in the marsh and he gets mellow. You get it? Marshmallow. I don't know. That was the only swamp joke I could find. The other one was Marsh Madness when somebody gets mad. Nothing.